Welcome to the Bitcoin for Creators panel.
I mean, I can't wait for the memes with us sitting together on stage right now. So zoom in, get the both of us, and post that all over Twitter. We'll see what happens.
I mean, it wouldn't be Bitcoin for Creators without the memes. We're definitely going to talk about the memes. But first, I want to talk about the importance of Bitcoin content creators. Bitcoin content creators are the vanguard. Most mainstream content creators offer a political solution. It's the red pill, it's the blue pill. Bitcoin content creators actually offer the solution. And the solution is to opt out entirely. So we don't offer the red pill or the blue pill. We offer the orange pill. It's not enough to just vote. Obviously, that system is broken. What we advocate for, all four of us on this stage, is to opt out. Take back your energy, your time, your work. That's exactly what these awesome creators do. So I'm going to start off with BTC Sessions, which I consider a brother. Man, Ben, you've been here for a very, very long time. Your tutorials are phenomenal. That's who, if you want to learn about Lightning, that's what I recommend. So what inspired you to do that? Did you fall into it organically?
Yeah, the education portion of it, I previously, before I got into Bitcoin, I spent about a decade teaching little kids how to breakdance. And it turns out that teaching young children complicated dance moves is very similar to teaching adults complicated technology. So it was an easy transition, but honestly, it came from 2 years of getting into Bitcoin, tearing my hair out, trying to figure out stuff because there was no video content at the time, and then eventually just saying, okay, I'll just make it because I don't want somebody to have to go through the same thing. And it's been 7 years of tutorials so far.
Did you know that it was going to be as successful when you started?
I mean, it very slowly got successful. So it's really cool, though, now to have people come up and say, hey, I used your video and I learned how to set up a node, or now I'm using Lightning, or it's very rewarding. So as long as there's people that get value from it, especially, you know, it's, to me, it feels that much more vindicating seeing people that are learning something instead of, you know, not getting as much value, or if I was doing something not educational. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I'm eternally grateful to be in the space.
Beautiful. So memes are some of the most effective ways to transmit information very, very quickly. And also, there's no better way or faster way, in my opinion, to get to someone's heart than to make them laugh. And Carla is a professional meme maker to the point that she's getting anti-Bitcoin people to respond to her videos. Carla, why don't you stand up and show everybody? That's right. That's Peter Schiff blowing a gasket, replying to Carla. Carla, why don't you tell everybody what that meme was about, that video? Money, money, money.
So with money, 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 and one of the biggest goals with the content I make, that Walker and I make, is to not preach about Bitcoin, but to lay out the problem. Because as Bitcoiners, we like to consume Bitcoin content, but Bitcoin content is hard to reach out of the echo chamber. So with money, 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 it was about money. It started with Powell. There was no hashtag Bitcoin. It was, let's get out to people who understand the problem. So it did get out to gold bugs like Peter Schiff, because a lot of the times we agree on many things, right? We agree with what the Fed is doing is wrong. We just don't agree on the solution yet, which is why I tweeted at him again today, and I told him I'd buy gold if he buys Bitcoin. But as a content creator, we need people who create stuff for Bitcoiners as well as people who are not in Bitcoin yet. So that was sort of the goal with money, money, money.
Awesome. So we have Ben, of course, specializes making tutorials. Carla, Mematic Masters, as well, for awesome husband too. Carla for America, or Carla, or Walker America. There we go. There we go. Sorry, I just left an all-you-can-eat contest. It was pretty crazy. Anyways, so on the back end, though, which is equally important, we have Mick Morucci from Geyser. You help fund some of my favorite content creators, one being Pleb Music, who recently rebranded to Max DeMarco, and of course, in between two A6 hosts, Tatum. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what Geyser is for?
Absolutely, it's a pleasure to be here. So I started Geyser when I was just scrolling on Twitter and remembering that there were all these interesting ideas that were coming out. There were people adding their Lightning invoices saying, can you guys fund me? Love to set up a meetup, or I have this artistic project. And I kind of realized that actually everyone's a creator. Everyone on Twitter, every user is creating content. And what was the problem with what I was seeing with Twitter is that although you have that reputation system, you don't have that easy way of actually funding. Money is not embedded in the social media experience. And it really, something clicked and made me think, okay, wow, if you look at how creators make money on the web today, something like 50 to 60% comes from sponsorships. Then you have tips represent like 4 or 5%, and you have other, so basically it's really little money. A lot of it is advertising, right? So you have this intermediation of funding, and Bitcoin enables to break that. Actually, enables you to actually fix that. It breaks the system, the old system, and enables, by integrating money, enables creators to actually kind of be part of the value for value economy. And our first idea was just, okay, let's just create a platform where people can fund great ideas and take the Twitter kind of trust that they've built to support their ideas. So that's sort of how Geyser originated. Ever since a lot has happened, interesting new project protocols have emerged since, and we're looking to improve on how that too. But yeah, that's sort of the idea that we're all creators. We all can support each other towards the creation of great content. And money, Bitcoin, Lightning as the internet of money can fix this.
Yeah, and let's explore that topic, right? And for anyone getting in, this is one of the questions that I hear the most, which is, how do you monetize this, right? You put hours and hours, your heart and soul into each one of these videos or memes or pieces of writing. And one of the questions I get, like, how do you monetize that, right? So, Ben and I have had this conversation at length. One of the most effective ways is direct sponsors. So getting sponsored by Bitcoin companies. What people don't realize, though, is when you get sponsored by a Bitcoin company, it's not just a sponsor. You're putting your name behind it. It's a partnership, right? Second way, obviously, is what I consider the gold standard is subscriptions. So people directly subscribing to your content, and you get a set amount every month. And of course, the most exciting, which Mick touched upon a little bit, is the rise of value for value. The issue is that right now, value for value, it hasn't really quite taken off. So I want to hear from Ben. How do you feel about this? You've been doing this for 7 years now. How do you feel about monetization, and what advice would you give to creators that are just starting out?
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum trying to figure out how best to do things. Obviously, we're still at a place where if you want this to be a living, direct sponsorship is kind of the thing that can make that possible. But I do think it is shifting. And so, with direct sponsorship, like you said, you're putting your name behind it, and you have to balance your sponsors and your conscience. And so you need to make sure that what you are putting your name behind is not BS. And so we see some content creators that will just, whatever the paycheck is, sure. I've tried my absolute best, and which requires me basically cold DMing people saying, I love what you do, would you like to sponsor my show, to not do that, to not sell out in that way. But the value for value stuff, I think, could be a game changer, because you get in a situation where even if you don't have a huge following, if it grows to a point where it becomes the norm, you get in an instance where, let's say you had a show or a podcast where you had 1,000 of your listeners each say, this was worth $1 to me. A single show bringing in $1,000 is very meaningful to a content creator. That's massive. It's not there yet, but the mechanism is here. It's possible. It just needs to be kind of a widely known thing globally that people have access to in order to get there. But right now, you're still seeing it. You can still get your podcast up on Podcasting 2.0, and I see it. I can open up my phone right now, and I see sats flowing in minute by minute, people paying by the minute to listen to a podcast because they like it. So if you haven't checked out Podcasting 2.0, created by Adam Curry, hats off to him, it's worth looking at.
Yeah, and we read those fountain comments together. Hashtag be Nico, if you know, you know. Ben Nico. Carla, so you have some of the most viral meme videos, consistently retweeted by the Chad himself, Michael Saylor. So same question to you. What's your strategy in terms of monetization? How have you approached that? Because this is definitely not an easy problem to solve. And what advice would you give to Bitcoin content creators that are just starting out?
So in all honesty, we haven't monetized until Noster.
Okay, stop right there. Everyone, please give her a round of applause. That is passion. That is passion. Come from the heart.
In a way, it's twofold. So on one hand, it's actually something Walker and I argue about, but as the person who produces the videos, it's like Ben said, when you partner with a company, when you have direct sponsorship, like even if they say you'll have all the creative freedom in the world, you are representing someone else. And for me, I don't want to have any creative restrictions. I want to be able to say what I want, the way I say it, be as crazy as I want without worrying about embarrassing a company or having any holds on that. So for that reason, yes, people call me dumb, like, oh my God, you have millions of views and you don't put like someone's like company. Well, how has no one approached you yet? It's because we just didn't want to go that route. With Noster and value for value is actually the first time ever that we have been able to monetize it. And it's funny because you can get 2 million views on a video on Twitter, tens of thousands of likes. And I have strike tips enabled. Someone will shoot you $5, great. On Noster, okay, maybe you get 100 views or 5 likes, but it just takes a couple people who are like, I'm going to send you 300,000 sats for a video. And I think we're going to look back on the way people talk about faucets back in the day, where it's like, I can't believe people were zapping millions of sats back then. They were just giving them away for it doesn't even have to be a video. It could be a picture of a foot. And that has happened.
Those are expensive.
That's a Footster plug, yeah. So
wait, hold on a second. Are you okay with that, Walker? Are you posting?
We started it.
Oh, so you're posting your feed. I will pay 1 million sats for that right now.
But it's the idea, people, it's voluntary. If you want to throw me some sats for a video, great. If not, I'm still going to keep making them. And that's just the way I feel good about it. And I think we're just at the beginning of Noster and value for value. So that's going to grow exponentially. And again, we have day jobs still. So if you are doing creation for a living, of course you need to actually make money. That is definitely something I should fully disclose. We still have day jobs, so that's why this can be a hobby. But yeah.
So, and you're talking about the value for value. Mick, with Geyser, you are in the vanguard of this. So this is a problem that you are actively trying to solve. How do we get more people, specifically Bitcoin content creators, using value for value? Because what Ben mentioned earlier, and I'm on the same boat with Simply, of course, is right now, the most feasible, reliable option is direct sponsorships or direct partnerships with Bitcoin companies.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's the million-dollar question, right? How do we onboard the world into Bitcoin? How do we onboard them to Lightning and Noster? Yeah, these are it's probably just a lot of different things. You know, content creation itself can actually play a role in that flywheel, bringing people in. You know, just the growth of the Bitcoin economy and the ecosystem, Bitcoin companies providing these tools. Things like, you know, yesterday's announcements by Strike of integrating Lightning addresses finally kind of help to kind of connect, yeah, to increase the ability, the ease of integration to the value economy. And yeah, all these different things. I will say that the growth has been quite staggering, right? So, I mean, Noster has gone through massive hype, it's slowed down a little bit, but we're still seeing, on Geyser specifically, around 35% growth month over month in terms of the amount of money flowing through. And I think we're in an interesting stage now with Geyser, where actually there's quite a lot of Bitcoin flowing through, and we're still actually a lot more than Noster. I think in a year from now, it's probably Noster will be a different thing. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of value flowing through, not just through tipping, but people actually adding, you know, like Carla said, like big contributions towards content that adds value. And I will say it's also not just, you know, pure content. It's really educators. Like, we're seeing three key categories. Educators that are, you know, going out and doing all sorts of things, and even like making graffitis on the wall and, you know, handing out stickers. Like, that's a form of education. You have community builders setting up meetups and small conferences around the world, and then you have creatives, right? Like doing art and doing documentaries, and that's going back to that idea that everyone's a creator, everyone can add value. And yeah, right now, 95% of all projects on Geyser are Bitcoin related, and so people that are launching their ideas to support and add value to the Bitcoin economy. And I think we'll probably continue that way for a while. It'll probably be like, how can I add value to Bitcoin? Also because Bitcoiners are gonna be happy to support Bitcoin content. But I will say, the final point I'll say is that I think a lot of the growth will happen in the global south, just because of, you know, these will become tools for monetization, tools for really opening up to a new economy that they didn't have access to before.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about a topic that I'm sure a lot of us have put a lot of thought into, specifically Ben and Carla, right? This idea of deplatforming, right? The last month or two, we saw the second most popular broadcaster in the world, 3.5 average million viewers per episode, and he was fired. And this was one of the only members in the legacy corporate media. I don't call them the mainstream media anymore. Independent content creators are the mainstream media. And we'll see that, right, as time progresses. And of course, I'm talking about Tucker Carlson. With the audience that Tucker Carlson had, right, and he regularly brought on Max Keiser, he's brought on Michael Saylor, he's brought on Naim Bukele, who have said things that were, you know, against a lot of these elite narratives, right? And I believe that was a lot of the influence as to why he got fired. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about deplatforming, right? We know that YouTube has deplatformed a lot of people. They regularly censor content. Right? Of course, we've had alternative platforms pop up like Rumble. Twitter used to censor a lot before Elon took it over. So, Ben, how do you see, what are your thoughts on deplatforming, and how do you protect yourself as much as you can as a content creator?
So, there's kind of two problems here. One is owning your own audience, right? And this is something that Noster fixes. Yeah, and so if you're unfamiliar with Noster, effectively, you imagine a social media platform where you make connections with others, people follow you, you follow them, but the app that you're using is agnostic. You can jump from platform to platform, and you know, you get kicked off or silenced on one, you move over to another, you don't need to tell or get the word out to everybody, say, oh, come follow me over here. No, you're just using a different app. They still see you, you still see them, you have everybody is the same. Or somebody says, I can't, for some reason, this one app won't show me this person. Just use another app. You're already following them. The social connections are forged outside of the client that you're using. And so Noster, in terms of the connection to the people you care about, fixes this. There is the issue of hosting the data, especially video content, stuff like that. That is still, I think, in the process of figuring it out, right? You need to figure out how can you keep that censorship resistant? How do you encourage people to do it? There has to be a monetary incentive, I would say, to host all that stuff. But the social connection layer, I think the decentralization of that has begun. And I don't think the world at large understands that that has happened. And it, to me, is equally exciting to Bitcoin. And I think the two play hand in hand. They are cross-compatible. They are brother and sister, if you will. I think they're going to grow together very well.
Yeah, and Carla, same to you, right? Especially a lot of your content is not exactly elite consumable. It exposes a lot of harsh truths, and of course you do it in a comedic fashion. So I'm sure you have put a lot of thought into this about the idea of being deplatformed. How do you come to terms with it? What strategies do you use?
So in a way, I'm actually really glad that TikTok shadow banned us, because we were on TikTok first, and we started, well, I thought singing about COVID in the government would be fine, but even singing about it, they don't like that. But without that, I would have never got on Twitter, because I was like, well, we have 25,000 followers on TikTok, but no one sees we went from hundreds of thousands of views to maybe 200. So you could just see the suppression on the grid. So we're like, let's start fresh on Twitter. Great, we do. And then, of course, Twitter, ghost ban, you can't find things when you search and whatever else. So then, when Noster came around, it was like, great. But as a video creator, like Ben was saying, like it's about hosting. Like I'm still not hosting my own content. I use now like Noster build, I can upload videos, but that's still up to someone else's discretion. So until that becomes something Walker and I do on our own to self-host, but then the problem is still relaying that message, right? But again, that's the beautiful thing about Noster. It's for everyone. Like, yeah, you can mute me, but you can't stop me from posting. Like Relay can say, okay, we're not going to relay your content, but there's plenty of other relays that will. That's the whole point. So from a deplatforming standpoint, you can kind of breathe a little sigh of relief finally, because you have other options. I mean, YouTube, we never even really tried because we knew they'd get mad eventually. And especially when, we rely on songs that are copyrighted because they're fun and it brings up, it's nostalgic, right? Like that's why people can relate. And with YouTube, it's fine because it has content ID and they run ads on your videos and the music labels get the money, and that's how that works. So to finally, have this new opportunity and see how intellectual property kind of develops around that too will be very interesting to see.
Yeah, and pass it on to you, Mick, right? So, YouTube has this major competitive advantage, right? It's, it has, it benefits from the network effect, right? There's so much content being uploaded to YouTube by the minute. It's like the actual numbers, like unconceivable, right? Do you think Noster has a chance of overcoming that?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it can. I think the beautiful thing about Noster is that it's really a free market, right? But there has to be a business model that makes sense. And I guess, yeah, the answer is probably yes, because we now have a means of monetization that is not, that is not dependent on human attention. So if you have money embedded in the system and you have an open marketplace, then and there are creators that want to create content that wants to perhaps retain that content to last forever, I'm sure there's going to be someone in the market that is willing to provide that service. But going back to your question around censorship, one of the reasons why we started Geyser was also in relation to what happened with the truckers, the trucker convoy, which is another type of censorship, even more dangerous, I think, right? Because it's literally stealing people's funds, and so that's how we built Geyser. Really focused on that problem, and so the way that it works, the funds go straight to the creators. So we solved that problem, but now we have, still have to deal as a centralized platform with the problem of the content and the potential. Well, the fact that as a centralized platform, we still own the content and can act as god kings of the platform, which we really don't like. We just want people to do their thing, right? But yeah, we're looking also at that and how to improve that. And learning from Noster as well.
Awesome. So if you guys make content, you know this. Content creation is really hard. It's a grind, especially in the beginning, the first 1 or 2 years. You get a lot of thoughts in the back of your mind. Why am I doing this? Ben and Carla, if you guys could go back in time and speak to your past self, what advice would you give? What lessons did you learn specifically from the first year? Or the second year of when you started creating content? I know how it feels. You upload a video and it gets 50 views, less than 100, and you question yourself, why am I doing this? What advice would you give to content creators that are just starting out?
I think I would say, in my experience, number one, those first interactions, those first views, yeah, it seems small, but it's also, the first few are very meaningful too. Like I remember the first comment on a single video I put out. I was like, somebody watched this? No way. And it felt great. And then again, the first time I met somebody in person that recognized me from video. My wife didn't believe me. She thought he was a plant. I was like, the guy comes out, do you have a YouTube channel? She's like, no way, who is this? I was like, no, it's a real guy, I swear.
How much did you pay him?
Yeah. So yeah, I would say have a goal in mind, like in terms of what you want to accomplish, what message you're trying to get out there. Don't let the quest for views and clout and subscribers dilute the message that you want to get out there, because you're then compromising on why you came to the space in the first place. Stay true to that. Thanks. I think stay true to that. Have a low time preference about it. Like, yeah, it's a fucking grind. It's a lot of work, and it can be very tiring. But if you stay true to what you want to accomplish, then you'll get less of that worn down feeling, because you still feel good about the end product. You still feel good that people come up and say, I love what you do, because you also love what you do and what you're trying to do. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Carla?
So this is, going to seem obvious and cliche, but just start. With content creation, you really learn by doing. You can't just study and plan. No, like you have to start writing, start shooting, start creating, learn, get feedback, and do it again. There is no alternative to that. And the other thing I'll say, if anyone's aspiring to create content, is don't let keyboard warriors get you down. Because that comes with it, There's going to be mean people, but what I always like to say is, like, those who can't do, criticize. So if you're the one putting yourself out there and actually trying to provide value and do something new, like, good on you. And when you start, you are going to get negative feedback and mean people, and I just want to let you know that it stings at first, but your skin gets thicker and thicker each time, and that's how you keep going. Like, show the haters that they're wrong, and if you really are passionate about something, just go for it, because that's what's amazing about Bitcoin. all of us are so different, have such different angles to bring. We're all creators, but you're doing tutorials on lightning wallets that I could never do, and I sing in an orange wig, which you probably could do.
We'll see. Duet.
Yeah, let's do it. So anything you can bring creatively, artistically, technically, just do it, because we still have so much information to get out. There are so many people who still need to learn. So if I impart anything, is if you're thinking about starting a creative project, stop thinking and start doing it.
Beautiful. All right, we're going to end with this. The name of this panel is Bitcoin for Creators. Every single one of you in the audience are a creator. Every tweet that you like, every meme that you make, every video that you create are weapons in this narrative trench warfare that we're fighting in the battlegrounds of the internet. This is hand-to-hand combat. Recently, Walker, right? He fought back against the New York Times propaganda hit piece, and he started this this great project called Stop the Presses. And the New York Times, they tried to fact-check Riot's, video, basically making the case that ASICs emit no CO2. We all came together, and we got that community taken down. This is the power of the internet. It empowers you. Take agency, take action, get involved, and we will win this thing. Love you guys. This is Bitcoin for Creators. I'm Nico Moran. This is Mick Morucci, Carla, and BTC Sessions. Love you all.
Thank you, Miami, for the last 3 years in this amazing city. The whole world shut down, but Miami welcomed us with open arms. We want to show Bitcoin to the whole world. We are taking the conference on the road to set the stage for Bitcoin in a new city. Nashville. Bitcoin 2024 is coming to Nashville in Tennessee, a city that is known as a music and freedom city. Bitcoin 2024 in Nashville from July 25th to 27th.